What if the most terrifying monster isn't just about jump scares, but a master manipulator of the human mind? Pennywise doesn't just feed on fear, it creates it, molds it, and turns it into a weapon. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the unsettling psychology of it, revealing chilling tactics that make Pennywise more than just a clown. It's a psychological predator. It, aka the Deadlights, aka Bob Gray, but most commonly known as Pennywise, is a glamour, which is a race of alien interdimensional beings called the Deadlights. The monster is billions of years old and has been on Earth for about 1 million years, having crash landed in what is now Derry, Maine. Its origins go all the way back to an empty void that existed before our universe was even created. The shapeshifter was created by Gan, an all-powerful being who also created Maturin, its nemesis and the creator of the universe. Fun fact about Maturin: 1, the being exists in the form of a turtle. And 2, our universe was created when Maturin had a stomachache and emerged from his shell to vomit what is our universe into existence. So yeah, whatever you're sitting on right now while watching this, puke. Maturin appears in the novel and very indirectly in the 2017 film, but remains off screen. It refers to Maturin as its brother and still holds animosity towards the creature. The best way to understand it is to think of the creature's fear itself. It's a little more complicated than that, though. Fear isn't its only weapon or its only goal. To learn about the iconic villain's true motivations, as well as why Pennywise and it work so well in scaring fans, stick around till the end of this video. It drives fear in its victims for a couple of different reasons. First, fear is appealing to the creature and simply makes the meal taste better.
Yes, your anguish sustains me.
But also, and more importantly, creating an environment of fear, anger, and distrust make it easier for Pennywise to prey on its victims. That's because that type of environment makes it easier to isolate victims. In the novel, the films, and the HBO show Welcome to Derry, the stronger the friend groups stay and the more they're united against it, the more they're able to hurt Pennywise. That's why the being sets out to divide them, because doing so gives Pennywise more power and influence over them. In the original story, the creature is able to divide the Losers Club until Beverly is taken to the sewers. When that happens, they unite to face it. In Welcome to Derry, Periwinkle and it are able to divide the Standpipe group because of the harm that going into the sewers almost caused in episode 5, combined with Lily's obsession over the dagger. Only the tragedy at the Black Spot and it taking Will was able to bring them all back together to face the monster. When we feel alone, our fears are amplified. They have more power. Think about the times you've been afraid or hurt in your life. You likely wanted something or someone who gave you comfort, whether that's a parent, friend, pet, or something else. It works to take those things and put them out of reach. And one of the ways it does it is by convincing everyone else you're crazy so that no one takes you seriously. The kids in Derry are isolated in their fear to begin with because the adults don't see what the kids see. Part of that is because children's imaginations are just stronger than adults are. Children have a sense of creativity and innovation that some, even many adults, lose as they become focused on things like career and money. But also, adults are more willing to create stories in their mind that validate whatever their worldview already is. In doing so, they sometimes willfully ignore connections that are obviously there, at least in some way. To prove that point, take the picture I just showed you. Some people watching this reacted with, "Oh, that's an obvious connection." And others reacted by screaming fake news inside their head. Neither, or at least very few, are basing that on any sort of primary source documentation that they've actually read, especially in the second case. Both, to varying degrees, are justifying what they want to believe as fact. By doing this, adults compartmentalize and become selectively blind to the fears or events they don't want to recognize or face. In the King universe, that isn't so much a choice as it is adults just not being able to see. That's why Beverly's father can't see the bloodbath in the bathroom that Beverly does. It's also why the cops in Welcome to Derry don't see what the kids see in the pictures. In my profession, I do a lot of teaching of adult learners. In my experience, one of the biggest barriers for adults who struggle with new concepts is the uniquely adult need to be right rather than get it right. That's 100% present in Derry too. Adults are quick to dismiss and mock things that don't fit into their already decided view of the world. Kids will talk about how they know adults won't believe them. This isolates the kids even more, making them even more vulnerable. This also has the nice plot effect of making it so authorities like the police aren't available to help the kids, making them truly on their own. So why then are the Losers Club as adults able to remember it when they arrive back in Derry? Well, part of that's because they all have entered professions that embrace creativity in one way or another as adults. Maybe that's the result of them all having the shine, which they do, but they all chose creative livelihoods. Richie's a comedian, Bill's an author, Beverly works in marketing, Ben is an architect, and Mike Hanlon remembers everything because he stayed in Derry. But it's not just that. Mike has also researched the entity constantly since their first encounter, and he works in the library, a place where he's surrounded by creativity and ideas. And that's one of the core messages of It, the tendency adults have to abandon creativity and dreams in favor of chasing money and career. For many adults, creative avenues are a thing of the past. How many times have you heard some adults say that things that embrace creativity, like for instance video games, comics, cartoons, or something else, are quote, for kids? In King's Derry, that makes adults tools for evil to prey on the vulnerable, because they simply look the other way, kind of like in our real world. But it's not just about crushing collective resistance or scaring with physical forms. Up next, we'll look at what it is really tapping into to create so much fear, and why the creature doesn't attack its victims right away. At its core, the story of It and Derry are about childhood trauma, both its effects while happening and the impact on people years afterward. That's one of the reasons It is scary to so many people, because many have experienced some level of childhood trauma, ranging from the mild to the extreme and horrific. Many victims of child abuse or kids who suffer any type of trauma will have one thing in common. They felt alone and that they had no one they could turn to. That's what Pennywise leans into. The being makes each child's horrors personal to them, horrors that other people could not understand as well or relate to because they can't even see it. Child abuse and trauma are prevalent throughout King's novel. Beverly Marsh suffers as a child at the hands of her father, and she grows up to feel most comfortable when with an abusive partner. Henry Bowers is abused at home, and he becomes a violent bully because that's both the only language he knows and the only times he feels like he has power. Bill is reeling from the death of his younger brother. Ben is ridiculed for his weight and has serious self-esteem issues as a result. Richie struggles with his sexuality and how he would be received if people in Derry knew. Eddie has a possessive mother who controls him by telling him he's always sick and frail. The Losers Club is united not only through the fact that they all have shine, but through their shared pain as well. The member of the Losers Club that most resembles the town of Derry itself is Stan Uris. Like Derry and its citizens, Stan is the most conservative of the group and the least accepting of different ideas. He is the most binary thinker among them. Things have to be compartmentalized into one box or another for Stan. And thinking about something outside of that, such as a killer clown who takes on whatever form scares you the most, creates a crisis for him in his mind. Stan is the most reluctant to join the Losers Club in the Derry sewers, and he's the most reluctant to commit to returning if it returns. He would rather pretend it didn't exist and just be comfortable in the reality he's created in his own mind, aka his biases. That's why he would rather take his own life as an adult than return to Derry. To him, his greatest fear is having to face these possibilities again. That makes Stan a lot like Derry itself. Derry is extremely conservative. In the Gwendy trilogy, Gwendy Peterson states that Derry is mostly Republican and not sympathetic to people who fit in the category of, quote, other. Gwendy also states that Derry has strong anti-LGBTQ sentiment, which we see on display both in the book and on screen in Derry. There's also an accepted, even welcomed culture of racism in the town, which is historically consistent with those other views too. The environment can work to isolate victims and create a sense of dysphoria and, to its delight, distrust. To defeat it, you must face your fears, but just as importantly, find strength in togetherness and community. The fractured community of Derry is the perfect breeding ground for an evil like Pennywise to thrive. It's difficult to overcome though, and that's why so many generations have failed before the Losers Club arrives. But acceptance and love are signals of strength, and they make you more powerful against the evil. It's hard to embrace those things when everything in your immediate culture teaches otherwise, but the Losers Club finds a way to stay together when it mattered the most, and that's why they ultimately prevailed. If you look at King's works, the evil of It might not be dead after all. Other works from the author have referenced Pennywise the Clown, including a moment in the Tommyknockers where a rocking dairy is spray painted with the words "Pennywise lives." Since evil never truly dies, especially in King's world, this makes sense. Would you like to see Pennywise return in another Stephen King novel? Let us know in the comments. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more on horror every single day. Have a great day, everybody, and stay scared out there.